You hold it in your hands. A chain of beads, a symbol of faith, a weapon against evil. But what if the weapon itself was compromised? What if the very object you use to pray for protection was, in fact, an open door for the demonic? It sounds impossible. Yet, one of the greatest mystics of the 20th century, a man who bore the wounds of Christ and battled demons daily, saw this terrifying reality. Padre Pio could see what we can't. He looked at certain rosaries, even beautiful ones, and saw not a channel to God, but a hiding place for the enemy. He identified 3 specific types of rosaries that were spiritually dangerous, corrupted from their sacred purpose. And the frightening part is, you might have one in your home right now. Before we reveal these 3 dangerous objects, you must understand the man who saw them. Francesco Forgione, known to the world as Padre Pio, was not just a simple friar. From a young age, he was granted extraordinary spiritual gifts. He could read souls in confession, revealing sins people had long forgotten. He could bilocate, appearing in 2 places at once. And most critically for our topic, he possessed the gift of discerning of spirits. He saw the spiritual world as clearly as we see the physical one. He saw guardian angels, but he also saw demons, lurking, tempting, and deceiving. His battles with them were not just spiritual, but physical. The monks in the cell next to his would hear crashes, screams, the sounds of a true fight in the dead of night. This wasn't a man speaking in metaphors. When Padre Pio warned of demonic influence, he was speaking as a frontline soldier, a veteran of a war we can barely imagine. So if you're finding your prayers feel empty, if spiritual progress has stalled, listen closely. This isn't just a story. It's a warning from a saint who knew the enemy's tactics firsthand. And if you value your faith, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell, because understanding these spiritual dangers is the first step to defending yourself. The first type of rosary Padre Pio would recoil from is the most overtly sinister. It's the rosary that has been intentionally corrupted. Imagine a penitent coming to him, proud of their beautiful, unique rosary. They hand it to the holy friar, and instead of a blessing, they see a look of horror on his face. "Get that away from me," he would say. "It is not of God." This is the rosary crafted with materials or symbols tied to the occult. Think of beads, made from materials used in pagan rituals, or a centerpiece medal that isn't of a saint, but a subtle esoteric symbol. The most dangerous deception is the one that looks almost right. The devil is a master of mimicry. He will create something that is 99% holy to hide the 1% of poison. A crucifix might have a tiny, inverted pentagram hidden in the design, or a snake motif subtly woven around the cross, not as a symbol of wisdom, but of the original tempter in the garden. These objects are often created with malicious intent, consecrated to demonic forces, and then sold as objects of piety. They are Trojan horses, brought into your home under the guise of holiness. Padre Pio's spiritual senses were so acute he could feel the evil radiating from them like a cold sickness. But how does this work? It's not magic. It's about spiritual authority and permission. A blessed object, a sacramental, is placed under God's authority. It becomes a conduit for grace. Conversely, an object intentionally dedicated to evil, or crafted with symbols that mock God, is placed under the authority of the enemy. When you use it in prayer, you are unknowingly engaging with that authority. You're opening a line of communication, but not to heaven. You're essentially inviting demonic influence into your prayer life. Your prayers for protection become tainted. your attempts to grow closer to God are subtly sabotaged. It creates spiritual confusion, dryness, and even despair. The demon hiding in that object will whisper lies. God isn't listening. This is pointless. You are a hypocrite. It uses the sacred act of the Rosary to attack your faith from the inside. This was the deception Padre Pio saw so clearly. It was a perversion of the sacred, turning a shield into a vulnerability. The second type of rosary is far more subtle, and for that reason, perhaps even more widespread. It's not made of occult materials. It's blessed by a priest. It looks perfectly fine. In fact, it looks better than fine. It looks magnificent. This is the Rosary of Pride. Padre Pio was a champion of holy poverty. He believed that our attachments to worldly things were chains that kept us from God. He saw penitents arrive with rosaries made of gold and precious gems, rosaries that cost more than a poor family's home. And he would see the spiritual danger. He wouldn't see the piety. He would see the pride. He would see a person more in love with the beauty and value of the object than with the mysteries they were supposed to be meditating upon. The rosary had ceased to be a tool for humility and had become a statement of wealth and status. It was a spiritual jewel, worn to be seen by others, not a humble chain used to speak with the Mother of God in secret. The demon that hides in this rosary is the demon of vanity. It doesn't need occult symbols to find a foothold. It uses your own pride as the door. When you pray with such an object, the temptation is not toward blasphemy, but toward distraction. Instead of meditating on Christ's suffering, you're admiring the craftsmanship. Instead of asking for Mary's intercession, you're calculating the object's monetary worth. The prayer becomes about times you asterisk, not about God. It becomes a performance. The demon of vanity loves this. It encourages self-love over love for God. It turns an act of worship into an act of self-aggrandizement. Padre Pio understood that true prayer requires detachment from the world. A rosary that screams of worldly wealth is a constant, physical anchor to the very things you are supposed to be transcending in prayer. He would often advise people to use the simplest, humblest rosary they could find, for in that simplicity, there is no room for pride to take root. Think of Padre Pio's own rosary. It was a simple, wooden thing, the kind any poor farmer might carry. The beads were worn smooth from decades of constant prayer, the crucifix polished by the touch of his stigmatized hands. That simple object was infinitely more powerful than any rosary of gold and diamonds, because it was an instrument of pure, humble devotion. It was a tool, not a treasure. It was a weapon, not an ornament. This is the standard he held. The value of a rosary is not in its material worth, but in the faith with which it is used. The moment the material worth becomes a point of pride, its spiritual worth begins to decline, and a space is opened for the enemy to whisper his temptations to vanity. The third type of rosary that troubled the great saint is perhaps the most common one of all. It's sitting in your car's glove compartment, or in a tangled mess in a bedside drawer. It is the broken, incomplete, or neglected rosary. A penitent might approach Padre Pio and say, "Padre, I try to pray, but I have this old rosary. It's missing a few beads. The chain is broken, but it's good enough." Right, Padre Pio, who saw the spiritual reality behind the physical object, would see this differently. He wouldn't just see a broken object. He would see a broken devotion. He would see a symbol of spiritual neglect. The Rosary is a complete prayer. The 5 decades represent a full cycle of meditation. An incomplete rosary is a physical representation of an incomplete commitment to that prayer. It's a symbol of carelessness in our relationship with God, and demons thrive in areas of neglect. The demon that attaches itself to this rosary is the demon of sloth, or acedia, a spiritual listlessness and apathy. It exploits our laziness. Using a broken rosary is spiritually disruptive. You lose your count. Your focus is broken. The flow of meditation is interrupted by the physical flaw in the object. This constant, low-level frustration is exactly what the enemy wants. It makes prayer feel like a chore. It makes you think, oh, what's the use? I can't even keep track. I'll just skip it today. The broken object becomes the excuse for a broken prayer life. Padre Pio would insist on respect for sacred objects precisely because they are our tools for connecting with the divine. Using a broken tool shows a lack of respect for the task. If a soldier went into battle with a broken rifle, you would question his commitment. For Padre Pio, a Catholic going into spiritual battle with a broken rosary was doing the same thing. It was an invitation for defeat. The rosary is often called a chain linking us to heaven. Each bead is a prayer. Each link is our persistence. A complete, unbroken rosary is a powerful symbol of a strong and complete faith, a devotion that is whole and uninterrupted. When we allow our rosary to remain broken, we are, on a symbolic level, accepting a break in that chain. We are telling ourselves that good enough is acceptable in our spiritual life. Padre Pio was a man of spiritual precision. He knew that the devil attacks us in our weak points, in our inconsistencies, in our half-hearted efforts. A broken sacramental is a physical manifestation of a spiritual weak point, an area of our life where we have allowed neglect to set in. And any foothold is enough for the enemy to begin his work of demoralization. So look at these three rosaries together. They reveal the devil's three primary strategies against the faithful. First, outright deception, tricking you with something that looks holy but is poison. He attacks your intellect and your trust. Second, pride, tempting you through your ego and your attachment to the world. He attacks your heart and your humility. And third, neglect, wearing you down through spiritual laziness and apathy. He attacks your will and your persistence. The occult rosary, the rosary of pride, and the rosary of neglect are not just three objects. They are physical embodiments of the three main avenues of demonic temptation. Padre Pio could see the spirits of deception, pride, and neglect clinging to these objects, because the objects themselves were either created for them or made welcoming to them through human weakness. So, what is the practical lesson here? First, examine your rosaries. Look at them closely. Are there any strange symbols? Where did it come from? If it was a gift, do you trust the source? If you have any doubt about its origin or design, do not use it. Second, examine your own heart. Is your rosary a tool for humble prayer, or is it an accessory? Are you more attached to its beauty than to the Blessed Mother? If so, consider getting a simpler rosary for your daily prayers. Humility is a powerful armor. Third, check the physical state of your rosaries. If they are broken, fix them. Show respect for your spiritual tools. If a bead is missing, replace it. If the chain is snapped, repair it. This simple act of care is an act of faith. And what if you find a rosary you suspect is occult, or one that is broken beyond repair? Do not simply throw it in the trash. A sacramental, even a compromised one, should be disposed of respectfully. The proper way is to either burn it and bury the ashes, or to break it down completely so it no longer resembles a rosary and then bury the pieces. This prevents it from being desecrated further. Above all, the most important step you can take is to have your rosary blessed by a priest. A blessing is not a magic spell, but it is a powerful act. When a priest, acting in the person of Christ, blesses an object, he is officially consecrating it for sacred use. He is placing it under the protection and authority of the Church and of God Himself. This act formally claims the object for Christ. An exorcist will tell you that a blessed object is intolerable to a demon. A blessed rosary, a blessed crucifix, a vial of holy water. These things are not mere symbols. They are weapons imbued with the power of the Church's prayer. A proper blessing can cleanse an object of any prior negative attachments and erect a spiritual shield around it. If you have a rosary, even a simple one, and it has not been blessed, take it to a priest. It is the single most important thing you can do to ensure it is a pure and powerful channel for grace. Let us not end in fear, but in faith. For every corrupted rosary, there are millions that are true weapons of heaven. The stories of the rosary's power are legendary. It was the prayer that secured victory at the Battle of Lepanto, saving Christendom. It's the prayer that exorcists use to drive out the most stubborn demons. Padre Pio himself called the rosary the weapon. He held it constantly. For him, it was a direct line to the Queen of Heaven, and through her, to her Son. A simple, blessed, complete rosary, prayed with a humble and sincere heart, is one of the most powerful spiritual forces you can possess. It is a shield against evil, a comfort in sorrow, and a ladder to heaven. The devil's attempts to corrupt it are merely a testament to how much he fears it. He attacks what is most powerful. So, the warning from Padre Pio is not to make us fear the rosary, but to make us respect it. It is a sacred tool that requires our attention, our humility, and our care. Do not let deception, pride, or neglect compromise your greatest spiritual weapon. Check your rosaries, but more importantly, check your heart. Pray with humility, with persistence, and with love. Do that, and no demon will ever find a hiding place in the sacred chain that binds you to God. I'm deeply curious to hear about your own experiences. Do you have a special rosary with a story behind it? Have you ever felt uneasy about a religious object? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could be a lesson for all of us. Thank you for watching.